A hostage situation has led to an all-day standoff. Good evening, I'm Haley Perot. Thank you for joining us. A tense situation is unfolding on Thunder Bay's north side as police are involved in an ongoing standoff. Officers blocked off the 100 block of Cumberland Street at around 8:30 this morning in response to a weapons call. Officers could be seen surrounding the Villa Square building where someone who worked at the Oak Pharmacy was being held hostage, reportedly by someone carrying a handgun. Police say the hostage was able to exit the building safely at around 3:30 this afternoon, but the suspect remained inside. Members of the OPP are providing assistance to city police. Local residents are being asked to avoid the area of Cumberland Street between Camelot Street and Marina Park Drive. Closures are also in place in other streets around the area, including Tupper and Villa Streets. Police say further updates will be provided when they become available. Another rally was held in Thunder Bay this afternoon to protest the planned underground facility to store Canada's nuclear waste. Protesters want the location to be reconsidered, citing fears of water contamination around the region. Roughly 200 people from Thunder Bay and surrounding communities made their way to Waverly Park to demand a stop to the nuclear waste management project near Ignace. The event was organized by community members from Grassy Narrows and Fort William First Nations, and they were joined by other organizations like We the Nuclear Free North. One of the organizers, Chrissy Isaacs, says she hopes the government hears what they have to say and stops the plan to store Canada's nuclear waste in northwestern Ontario.
I'm hoping, that it's reconsidered, that there's got to be other ways, safer ways, and especially, storing stuff near bodies of water, they really need to start thinking about how and where they're placing, something so toxic.
We are killing Mother Earth, so we have to fight for her now. I feel she fought for us before. Now we got to fight for her. And we got to fight for the people that are getting affected too by the poisoning they're putting on the ground.
Following the rally, protesters marched down Red River Road to the Marina Spirit Garden, where the protest continued with more speeches against the project. An American motorist is dead following an early morning crash involving a moose near Rossport. OPP say a Tesla vehicle collided with the animal just after midnight. The driver was pronounced dead at the scene, and the passenger was airlifted to Thunder Bay Regional Hospital with serious injuries. Highway 17 between Nipigon and Scriber was closed for around 6 hours and reopened to traffic at around 7 o'clock this morning. MPP Kevin Holland and Minister Stephen Lecce are standing by Ontario Power Generation's decision to rebuild the Kebeca Falls hydro generating station despite opposition from Fort William First Nation. Holland and Lecce addressed the concerns during a media event just outside the city yesterday afternoon. Jessica Clement has the details.
This recent drone video, shot by local photographer Chris Artist, shows that Ontario Power Generation's plans to overhaul the Kebeca Falls hydroelectric station is moving ahead, despite Fort William First Nation voicing concerns about the $200 million project. Chief Michelle Solomon stated in November that the site holds deep historic, cultural, and spiritual significance, and says they were not consulted by OPG. Energy Minister Stephen Lecce, alongside local MPP Kevin Holland, addressed questions about the redevelopment during a media event in Thunder Bay on Thursday.
We want to build energy generation that's going to help secure the north. Hydroelectric, new energy is really critical to a clean economy. And as we look to secure our economic future, we're turning to reliable power like hydro and nuclear. And we know that that's going to make a difference when it comes to powering the north. 81% energy demand is forecasted by 2050 in the north, which is much higher than the province of Ontario on average.
Holland echoed Lecce's statement, adding that he's very excited by the project.
It's a great economic boost to the region as well. And it's I drive by the site every day on my way into town because I live out Kebeca, as you know. And the work they're doing there is going to make a real difference in the supply of clean energy in northwestern Ontario.
In an email, a spokesperson for OPG said work on the redeveloped generating station continues to progress. adding that they are actively engaging with Fort William First Nation and respectful and collaborative discussions. Jessica Clement, TBT News.
Indigenous Affairs and First Nations Reconciliation Minister Greg Rickford is responding to the backlash against himself and the province over the controversial Bill 5. Along with those against Bill 5 are the Indigenous groups and other leaders calling for his resignation. Justin Hardy reports.
Opponents of Bill 5 have been calling for the immediate resignation of Minister Greg Rickford. Among their ranks are First Nations communities like Bearskin Lake, the Ontario Federation of Labour, and opposition leader Mart Stiles. Rickford responded to those calls during a media event in Ignace on Thursday.
I'm not going anywhere. I love working with First Nations leadership. I love the helping to build bridges between First Nations communities and municipalities. I think you'll see, I think what you've seen is First Nations leadership come out and be very supportive of the work our government's doing, and very supportive of the work that I'm doing. So I've had the tremendous opportunity as a nurse, as a lawyer, and now as a federal and provincial politician, working almost exclusively with First Nations.
While not yet joining the call for Rickford's resignation, Nedamizagame Nishnabeg Unsurrendered Nation has joined efforts to demand the repeal of Bill 5. Chief Louis Kwisawa and his members have been protesting along Highway 17 all this week. He says his community is not against development in the region. They're fighting to keep their right to be a part of the conversation.
We want to be at the discussion table, and Bill 5 excludes us from that. It overreaches our inherent rights. It overreaches our rights as Indigenous people to be duly consulted within the framework of the Canadian Constitution when you look at Section 35.
Rickford says the Ontario government takes its duty to consult very seriously and that the next several months will be dedicated to listening to First Nations concerns.
Bill 5 is a law. It is not the law, and to the extent that there's been any implementation so far. And so this is our window for engagement and consultation. And as it stands now, obviously you mentioned that there have been some vocal opposition. We have quietly met with different groups across the province, First Nations and municipalities, who have quite a bit of interest in what this bill could do for their community and for their region.
Justin Hardy, TBT News.
The Transportation Safety Board is deploying a team of investigators to Thunder Bay following a scary incident in which a crew member fell off a grain vessel. Fortunately, the man wasn't hurt, and he made it out safely out of the water. It happened sometime yesterday in the mouth of the Mission River. The cargo vessel Kathy McKeel was en route to the Superior Grain Terminal when the man fell overboard. Port Authority CEO Chris Heikkinen confirms the crew member was not injured, but Heikkinen was unable to provide any other details about how the mishap occurred. The TSB says its investigators will be gathering information and assessing the incident. The ship remained docked at the Superior Elevator as of this afternoon. The Ontario Bar Association has announced its new president, and for the first time in over 50 years, the role is being held by a Thunder Bay lawyer. Katie Camisso, a lawyer at Bussett LLP, has been named the new president of the Bar Association, advancing from her current role as vice president. She's taking the helm of the organization that represents more than 16,000 lawyers, judges, notaries, academics, and law students across the province. Camisso says she's eager to bring her vision and ideas to life as she leads the OBA into its next chapter.
I'm really excited to basically travel the province and get to meet our members throughout the province to hear about what they do and the challenges they face. But in my view, and what I really want to accomplish during my mandate year is also to ensure that lawyers have a strong foundation in which they can kind of grapple with those larger changes. So what we hear from members, especially younger or early career lawyers, is more support with transitions in your career.
Camisso will officially assume the OBA presidency and step into the role this September. Well, very shortly we're going to turn to weather news, as there's been development in the past hour concerning some severe weather coming up to the western portion of our region, just shortly outside of our region of Thunder Bay. Now we will turn to Fiona Gardner, who has the details on that and has been monitoring the radar today to see what could be moving into the region.
Yeah, it's kept a lot of people on their toes. There is a lot of activity going on. Now, Thunder Bay, ironically, did not get the heat, the humidity, the strong winds that we were expecting, but there are some very active systems moving through. In the last little bit, we'll get this, and it's decided not to move. Let's try that again. There we go. Oh. We're just having one of those days. All right. Nope, apparently not. Okay, so what is going on is the systems that are coming through, they have not only thunderstorm watches and warnings with them, there is a tornado warning in effect. And I'll show you the areas that will affect in just a moment. But for the city of Thunder Bay, we expected to see humidex hitting 37. Today we had a high of 21 and a humidex of 26. That was after a midday thunderstorm and some showers. Winds were from the east, 8 to 27 kilometers per hour, except around that period of rain when we saw gusts up to 46K. Now, if we take a look at what's going on right now, it looks rather calm, but you can see where that extreme heat is. As the system moves in, you've got a lot of heat that is rising quickly. It hits cold air aloft, you get a thunderstorm, but there's also potential tornadoes in this. And the areas that could be affected by winds reaching up to 100 kilometers per hour, heavy rain, large hail include, but are not limited to, Fort Frances and into Emo and Rainy River in this part of the region. We've got Atikokan, Dryden, Upsala, Rafe, and it's basically in this surrounding area. You've already got a thunderstorm in the fort, but it could become much more active. Now, Fort Frances did see the humidex hit 38 this afternoon. At this hour, it's a little bit milder. It's sitting closer to 30, but with temperatures and heat rising and falling so quickly, you know there's a lot of activity. At this hour, we've got clouds in Armstrong and Greenstone, a little below seasonal at 20 and 17 Celsius, and then it warms up under mostly cloudy skies in Sault Ste. Marie. They're currently at 24. And tonight, we've got things actually looking pretty calm for Thunder Bay, but that is just the beginning of the story. There is a lot of rain that is still expected to move through. It could skip us, but we are expecting anywhere up to 20 millimeters by the time everything has passed through at the end of tomorrow. So I'll have a little bit more detail later on in the news hour and hopefully clarify exactly how things are going to be hit.
All right, thank you very much, Fiona.